Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a really essential topic, effective research. We've got this great guide, really comprehensive stuff on how you initiate and, well, conduct solid inquiry.
That's right.
And our goal for you, the listener, is pretty straightforward. Pull out the key ideas, the core techniques to help you research better, yes, but also just become a sharper consumer of information generally, which is, vital these days.
Absolutely vital. And the guide really stresses that good research isn't just hunting for proof for what you already believe. It's a disciplined thing, a systematic way of finding out what's what, built on principles that make sure the knowledge is actually reliable.
Okay, foundations. Let's start there. What are those non-negotiable principles the guide keeps coming back to?
Well, first, research never just appears out of nowhere. It always connects to knowledge that's already out there. You're entering a conversation, really.
Right. Building blocks?
Exactly. Second, it needs deliberate choices. You have to be motivated in why you pick your topic, your method, everything. It's not random.
Okay.
And third, and this is maybe the big one, you have to define your key concepts. Super precisely. Vague terms, they just don't work. One source literally said, ambiguity kills good research.
Ambiguity kills. Wow, that's direct.
Yeah.
So define success if you're studying student success, for instance.
Precisely. You need that clarity.
Okay, so foundation set. How do we make sure our work is credible? Especially when, there might be pressure or bias lurking?
Credibility really hinges on rigor and just plain honesty. A big point is admitting limitations up front.
Really, admitting weakness helps.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive maybe, but being open about what your study doesn't cover or where it might be weak actually builds trust. It shows you're being objective.
Huh.
And very importantly, you absolutely must keep analytical conclusions just stating what the data suggests, separate from saying what should be done. Your findings describe something. They don't automatically equal a policy prescription unless you argue that link carefully using only the evidence.
Got it. Stick to the facts. Don't jump to judgment based only on the data itself.
Exactly. Integrity with data, that's just paramount. And always be critical. Keep asking why. Not just what happened, but why did it happen? Why is this source framing it this way?
That why question seems key. The guide spent a lot of time on the research question itself. Sounds like it's more than just step one.
Oh, absolutely. It's the indispensable compass, as they put it.
Compass, I like that.
Yeah. If the question's fuzzy or too broad or frankly uninteresting, the whole project suffers. It needs to be clear, focused, manageable in scope, but also challenging, asking how or why, not just what, and obviously researchable with the resources you actually have.
Makes total sense. A bad question leads you nowhere or everywhere, which is just as bad. Okay, that leads us to finding information. Overload is real. What tools did the guide give us?
Well, I mentioned the classic CRA test: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, purpose. Good starting point for looking closely at one source, kind of vertical reading.
Right, I've heard of that.
But it also points out, CRP isn't always enough for the tricky stuff online now. Sophisticated misinformation can look pretty good on the surface.
So we need more, like lateral reading.
Exactly. Lateral reading is the big shift. Instead of just digging deep into one site, you open new tabs. You look away from the source to see what other reliable sources say about that source or its claim.
Okay, cross-checking across the web.
Yep. And the guide frames this with a technique called SIFT. It stands for stop, just pause, don't immediately react or share. Investigate the source who's behind it. Quick check. Find better coverage. See if trusted sources are saying the same thing or something different. And trace claims back to their original context. See the real evidence.
Stop, investigate, find, trace. That feels really practical for everyday scrolling, actually.
It really is. It moves evaluation from a checklist on one page to a more dynamic, web-savvy process.
Okay, quickly then, methods. How we actually do the research.
The guide covers the main types: qualitative, exploring experiences, understanding meaning; quantitative, looking for trends, testing ideas with numbers; and mixed methods, blending both.
Standard stuff.
Right, but the key takeaway wasn't just the definitions. It was that the method choice must align with the research question. It's a strategic decision. Your method has to be able to answer your specific question.
And if it can't,
then it's not the right method. And interestingly, realizing a method isn't working is still valuable data. It tells you something important.
right, even dead ends teach you something.
Yeah.
Okay, last piece. Getting the word out. Communicating findings.
Super important. Key things were Simplify complex ideas, but don't dumb them down or lose accuracy. Stay focused. What did you find? Why does it matter? Who could use this info? And tell a story. Make it engaging.
Don't just dump data.
Exactly. And tailor it. Know your audience academics. Public. Adjust your language. Use visuals. Use different channels, not just journal articles. Think social media, blogs, whatever fits. Always answer the so what question.
Okay, so summing up, good research builds on what's known, requires honesty, criticality, a sharp question, smart source checking like SIFT, the right method for the question, and clear, tailored communication.
And remembering it's often iterative. You learn, you adjust the question, maybe change methods. It's a cycle, not always a straight line.
That feels much more real. Okay, a final thought then for you, our listener. Think about your own approach to information. How does applying even a little more rigor, a bit more critical evaluation like SIFT, to what you read and share contribute, not just to your own knowledge, but maybe to the overall health and trustworthiness of the information ecosystem we all share and rely on? Something to chew on. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a really essential topic, effective research. We've got this great guide, really